Hello everyone, my name is Ainurisha Bitidustake with matric number B25761035. Let me introduce to our topic today, which is racial discrimination in Malaysia. Racial discrimination is unfair treatment based on race or ethnic background. Although Malaysia is a multicultural country, racial discrimination still exists and can be seen in areas such as education, employment, and social interaction. If this issue is not addressed, it can weaken trust between communities and affect national unity. The objectives of this report is to examine racial discrimination in Malaysia using philosophical and national values. Next is to identify causes, effect, and recent statistical trends. Lastly is to propose solutions to reduce discrimination and promote unity.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Shazwaniza. So, for this slide, I will explain what racial discrimination means. Racial discrimination refer to the unfair or unequal treatment of individual or group based on their race or ethnicity, rather than their abilities or characters. In Malaysia, this discrimination can be seen in areas such as employment, education, housing, public services, and even daily social interaction. It is often linked to prejudice and stereotyping, where people make a negative assumption about others without proper knowledge or experience. Racial discrimination can also exist at an institutional level, where certain policies or systems unintentionally disadvantage specific racial groups. Altogether, these forms of discrimination limit equal opportunities and create inequality in the society. Next, I will discuss the causes of racial discrimination in Malaysia. One major cause is Malaysia's colonial history, which separated ethnic groups based on economic roles and living area. This created a long-term socio-economic imbalance and strong racial identities that still influence society today. Another factor is inequality in income, education, and job opportunities. When these differences are seen along racial lines, they can lead to resentment and reinforce stereotypes. Race-based policy and political rhetoric also play a role. While some policies aim to correct past imbalance, they may unintentionally increase racial awareness and division. Limited interaction between different races, along with the cultural and religious misunderstanding, allows stereotype to persist. In addition, media and social media can amplify racist narrative. For example, Astro Awani in 2035 reported a viral racist incident involving food stall owner, which sparked a public outrage and highlight ongoing racial tension in Malaysia.
Hi everyone, my name is Nur Saraini binti Khairul Anwar and my matric number is P257611034. Our reading summary is based on three sources: newspaper articles, academic journals, and blog opinions. From these sources, we found that racial discrimination in Malaysia exists at both structural and personal levels. Policies are important, but education, empathy, and dialogue are also needed to promote unity in line with the Rukun Negara principle. The first source is a Malay Mail article from 2025. It shows that racial discrimination still affects daily life, especially in employment and education. The article highlights public calls for equality and fair policies to strengthen national unity. The second source is an academic journal by Sukemi and colleagues from 2018. It explains how affirmative action policies influence wealth distribution among ethnic groups. Although these policies aim to reduce inequality, structural differences still exist, showing discrimination can also happen at the policy level. The third source is a blog by Chini from 2022. It shares a personal experience of everyday racism and highlights its emotional impact. This source reminds us that empathy and mutual respect are essential for racial harmony. Overall, this source shows that racial discrimination must be addressed through both fair policies, and positive individual attitudes.
Hi, my name is Nur Shafika binti Rashidi and my metric number is B2511611147. Now, let's move to the analysis of why racial discrimination happens and how philosophy can help us to fix it. The first thing first is from a logical perspective. Discrimination is simply a mistake in thinking. Many people use generalization. They judge a whole group because of the actions of a few. In philosophy, a wise person is someone who uses their brain to reject these false ideas and treats every person based on the truth. Practically, discrimination is an ethical failure. Eastern philosophy, we value harmony. When we treat people poorly because of their race, we break the balance and peace of our community. Next, we look at our national education philosophy, FPK. The goal is to create an insan sejahtera or a balanced person using the JERI elements. According to Balakrishnan, a person with racial hatred is unbalanced. For example, their intellectual side is weak because they cannot think clearly, and their emotional side is unstable because they are full of irrational fear. To have national unity, we need people who are spiritually and emotionally mature. In order to solve this, we have the Rukun Negara. It provides a framework where the rule of law ensures everyone is equal. Specifically, the fifth principle, mutual respect and good social behavior, is our daily guide. Most racism happens because people forget to be sopan and susila. If we practice this moral value, our society will become more respectful. And finally, we must look at the philosophy of technology. Today, I would say that the discrimination has moved online. Hate speech can spread easily on social media. We have a responsibility to use technology to connect people, not to separate them. By being ethical online, we can make sure the digital age helps our country still stay united instead of destroying it. Thank you so much. That's all from me.
Hello everyone, hope everyone is well. My name is Mufid Rahman Pritam. My matrix number is B25762014. In this section, I will discuss the impact of racial discrimination in Malaysia. The discussion covers its effects on Malaysian society, education opportunities, employment, economic inequity, as well as social cohesion and national unity. These slides look at the impacts of racial discrimination on Malaysian society using official data from the Department of Statistics in between 2019 to 2024. The data shows that racial discrimination can lead unequal access to job and income, which causes income gap between different ethnic groups. These gaps make it harder for marginalization communities to improve their society and income status and can affect national unity in the long run. Overall, that statistics shows that the racial discrimination affects not only individuals but also Malaysian long-term society and economic development. This slide shows how racial discrimination affects on education in Malaysia, based on data from the Malaysian Racism Report by Pusat Komas. The graph shows that cases of racial discrimination in education sector have continued over the past 5 years, with some increases in recent years. These cases shows that some students experience unequal treatment and limited access to educational opportunities. This can affect academic performance, reduce chances of entering higher education, and lead to long-term social and income gap in Malaysia. These slides focus on the impacts of racial discrimination on employment and economic inequality in Malaysia. Based on data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia and the Human Resource Ministry of Malaysia, difference can be seen in the wage levels, job access, and career progression across the ethnic groups. Even among individuals with similar qualification, wage gaps and limited promotion opportunities still exist, which contribute to income inequality. As a result, certain communities are overrepresented in lower income employment categories. This one focuses on the impacts of racial discrimination on social cohesion and national unity in Malaysia. based on report from the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia and the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission. Racial discrimination has reduced trust and interaction between different ethnic communities. The rise of racially changed speed, especially on social media, has increased social polarization and tension. If these issues are not addressed, they can pose long-term risks to Malaysian multicultural harmony and national unity.
Hello everyone, my name is Divya Saravanan and my matrix number is B25761046. So today I'll be presenting analysis based on Rukun Nagara principles. The first Rukun Nagara principle that we are going to analyze that we use to analyze this issue is kesopanan dan kesusilaan, which focuses on moral behavior, respect and proper conduct in society. This principle reminds Malaysians to be sensitive and respectful toward others, especially in a diverse society where people come from different racial and cultural backgrounds. All right, let's move on to the next slide. When we look at racial discrimination through this principle, we can see that many racial issues involve disrespectful language, stereotypes, and offensive remarks. Often, these are dismissed as jokes or personal opinions, which shows a lack of moral responsibility. This kind of casual racism clearly contradicts the value of courtesy and morality because it hurts others emotionally and normalizes disrespect in society. And let's further go to the next principle. The second principle is kesetiaan kepada raja dan negara. This principle emphasizes loyalty to nation and unity among all Malaysians regardless of race or religion. It encourages citizens to place national identity above racial differences and work together for country's stability and progress. And we will now look further into this principle. Racial discrimination goes against this principle because it creates division and us versus them mentality. When people are treated differently based on race, it weakens their sense of belonging and trust in national institutions such as schools, universities, and so on. This ultimately threatens national unity and contradicts the idea of loyalty to the country as a whole. We will now look at the link between both these principles. So, these two principles are closely connected. A lack of courtesy and moral behavior often leads to racial conflict, and racial conflict then weakens national unity. When nations practice respect and empathy, it strengthens loyalty to the nation. Therefore, upholding both principles together is essential for maintaining harmony in society. Through our discussion, we learned that racial discrimination in Malaysia exists in both obvious and subtle forms. Many discriminatory behaviors are normalized through everyday language, stereotypes, and attitudes, making them harder to recognize and challenge. And we also realize that racism is not only an individual issue but can also be influenced by social norms and systems. These experiences can cause emotional harm and weaken relationships between communities, showing the need for greater awareness, empathy, and moral responsibility. Working on this assignment was a meaningful learning experience for our group. It helped us improve our teamwork and communication skills, especially when discussing sensitive topics like race. We learned how to respect different opinions, think critically, and use reliable sources. This assignment also helped us understand how the principles of the Rukun Negara can be applied to real life social issues, increasing our sense of responsibility as Malaysians. So we will now look at solutions uh, to address racial discrimination effectively. So solutions need to focus on both individual attitudes and a wider social system. This includes education, accountability, and community engagement, as well as inclusive policies. These approaches work together to promote respect, fairness, and unity in a society. So, we will now look at the first one, which is education and awareness. So, education plays an important role in reducing racial discrimination. Strengthening Rukun Negara education in schools and universities can help promote empathy, respect, and understanding of diversity. So, for example, in schools we study the subject civic. So, this also teaches Rukun Negara to all the students, and this in turn instills values in younger adults. So they also these Rukun Nagara principles also addresses stereotypes and prejudice early in young people so that they can develop more positive attitudes towards different communities. And we will also now look at the community and policy section of the solutions. So community programs that encourages interaction between different racial groups can help reduce misunderstanding and stereotypes. Intercultural dialogue and community activities allow people to learn from each other. At the same time, firm actions should be taken against racial behavior and hate speech. And policies should be inclusive and fair to ensure equality for all Malaysians. Alright, so that's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, racial discrimination remains a serious issue in Malaysia as it goes against moral values and rukun negara principles. This requires efforts from individuals, communities, and authorities, as it's important to build a fair, inclusive, and harmonious society. Thank you and have a good day.